Hello everyone. In this session we are discussing the questions of the previous years from polity part. So let us start with the questions. So first of all we are looking at the questions which have come from the citizenship topic. There are very few questions on this topic. We had a question in the past which is on this topic. Let us look at the question. So the question is, with reference to India, consider the following statements. The first statement says there is only one citizenship and one domicile. Okay, so when we talk of India, we have one citizenship and one domicile. Okay, a person cannot be having a citizenship of India and any other country. We know that Article 9 and the Citizenship Act 1955, both of them, they have declared that the citizenship of India is only a single citizenship. You cannot have any other country's citizenship at the same time. So that part is correct. We cannot be having domicile in India as well as in other country. So citizenship of India and domicile of India is only one. So we are talking of the first statement as a correct statement. The second statement is, a citizen by birth only can become the head of the state. Now remember, wherever we talk of the qualifications for president or vice president or prime minister, nowhere in our country in the constitution it is discriminated that you cannot be a PM or president or judge or an MP or MLA if you are a citizen who has become citizen by naturalization or any other method. So there is no discrimination on the basis of which you have got citizenship in our country. Once you are a citizen, you are a citizen. So this statement appears to be an incorrect statement. The citizen by birth only can become head of state? No. Then a foreigner once granted the citizenship cannot be deprived of it under any circumstances? No, this is not correct. If you look at the Citizenship Act 1955, very clearly it provides for grounds on which citizenship can be deprived. It can be taken away on the grounds of if you are being convicted for some offence or you have helped an enemy country during war. So there are 5 grounds which are very clearly provided in the Citizenship Act on which it can be deprived. So this statement is not correct, this is not correct. So only the first statement is correct. So the answer should be A. The answer should be A, that is 1 only. This is the correct answer. So this question was from 2021. Now we are looking at the next question. Now the questions are coming from the topic of executive, the union and state executive, president, PM, council of ministers and governors. Okay. So when we look at the executive, let us look at the topics and the questions. So the first question is, consider the following statements. If the election of the President of India is declared void by the Supreme Court of India, all acts done by him or her in the performance of duties of his or her office of President before the date of decision become invalid. Now this was a question which was asked this year in 2023. So the first statement says that when the President has been, the election of the President has been declared to be invalid, what will happen to the actions taken by the President before that decision was taken? Now who will declare that President's election was invalid? It will be declared by the Supreme Court. Article 71 of the Constitution very clearly says any dispute in the elections for President and Vice President, it can be taken only by the Supreme Court. Okay? So suppose a President has been elected and after the election the matter went to the Supreme Court and somebody challenged that this person was not qualified to be the President. Remember, a President has to fulfill some qualifications when he files his nomination. He has to be a citizen of India at the time of filing the nomination. He has to have minimum 35 years of age. He shall not hold any office of profit, right? So there are some points and he should be having the same qualification as that of an MP of Lok Sabha also. So he must be registered as an elector at least in one Lok Sabha constituency in the country. So when we look at this point, suppose a person was not qualified, suppose a person was not a citizen of India and he won the election. Somebody will challenge that in the Supreme Court. How will he challenge that? He will challenge that using a writ of quo warranto. Matter goes to Supreme Court. Supreme Court decides that the President is not elected in a genuine manner. He was not qualified to be the President. So the point is, what will happen to the decisions which were taken by the President before this election? So those decisions shall not be invalidated. Those decisions will be perfectly valid, because the logic is that anyways the President was working on the advice of the Council of Ministers only. So there is no point in cancelling those decisions. Okay? So that is why the first statement, it says becomes invalid. So this statement is wrong. Okay? This is very clearly provided in the Constitution in Article 71. Article 71 has very clearly said that such decisions will not be invalidated. So the first statement is wrong statement. Election for the post of the President of India can be postponed on the ground that some legislative assemblies have been dissolved and elections are yet to take place. Now again this statement, it is incorrect. If you look at Article 71, again it is very clearly mentioned, elections for the President shall be completed in time it cannot be postponed because of vacancies in the electoral college. So if some legislative assembly has been dissolved, there is a vacancy in the electoral college, it cannot be a ground to delay the elections of the president, because the state assemblies, they are given a role, but the states are anyways represented by the Rajya Sabha. The state MLAs are choosing the Rajya Sabha MPs from that state. So since the Rajya Sabha is participating in the election, the states have participated in the election in some way. That is why Article 71 says vacancy in the electoral college shall not result into delays in the election from the president. Supreme Court gave an interpretation of this article in 1974 when a matter went to Supreme Court about Gujarat's assembly being dissolved and elections of president was pending at that time. Supreme Court said that you can conduct the elections, there is no need for delaying it just because of this ground. So this statement is not correct, it is also wrong. Next one. When a bill is presented to the President of India, the Constitution prescribes time limits within which he or she has to declare his or her assent. Now this is again incorrect. The Constitution has not provided any timeline within which the President shall decide over the bill. If you read Article 111, which talks about the powers of the President to give assent over the bill, it merely talks about three options: to give assent, to withhold assent, or to return the bill to the Parliament for its reconsideration. And if the Parliament is returning the bill to the President, either with or without amendment, the President shall not withhold assent to the bill. It nowhere mentions what is the time within which the President has to decide whether he rejects the bill, that is withhold assent, or he says that he is not returning the bill for the Parliament, or he gives the assent. Whatever decision he takes over the bill, there is no time mentioned within which he has to take the decision. This is what we actually call as pocket veto. This is exactly what has happened in many states where the governors had kept the bills pending. If you have seen the recent current affairs going around, Article 200 talks of similar provisions for the governor, except an extra choice that he can reserve the bill. So this statement is also incorrect. So the answer will be D, none of the above. Okay. Now let's look at the next question. Consider the following statements with respect to the election of the president. So again there was a question on election of the president. We had two questions last year on the elections of the president itself. The reason was very simple. Normally, people have confusion why a particular question has come in the exam. You have to be very, very clear. Last year we had elections for president. We had some questions on the president's election itself in the PYQs in this year. I mean in the prelims exam of this year. So there was a direct relation. There was a question in the mains exam also on the election of the president if you look at last year's PYQ. Okay. So the question is, consider the following statements in respect of election to the President of India. The members nominated to either House of Parliament or to the legislative assemblies of states are also eligible to be included in the electoral college. Now this is very, very clearly an incorrect statement. Only the elected members of Parliament and the elected members of state assembly as well as the elected members of the assemblies of UTs of Delhi and Puducherry are eligible to participate in the election. Nominated ones do not participate. So this statement is incorrect. Okay, it is not correct statement. Then higher the number of elective assembly seats, higher is the value of vote of each MLA of that state. Now if you look at the formula for finding out the value of votes of an MP and MLA, we know that articles 54 and 55 provide us information about the values of MPs and MLAs. Okay? So if we look at the value of vote for MP and MLA, what is the value of vote formula for finding out the value of vote for an MLA of a state? It is total population of the state. (1971) census. Okay? Total population of the state from 1971 census, it is to be divided by number of elected MLAs. Further multiplied by 1000. So this is the formula using which we are finding out the value of vote of an MLA in a state. So if you look at this, there are two variables over here. Population of the state may change, number of elected MLAs may change. So when the numerator is not fixed, how can we say it depends only on the denominator? So that is why this statement is not correct, because both of them are taken together to find out the value. So this statement is not correct. Next one. The value of vote of each MLA of Madhya Pradesh is greater than that of Kerala. So this was a very, very difficult question actually because of these two statements which are given here. If you look at this third statement and fourth statement, these two statements are very, very difficult. This was practically one of the most difficult questions of this year's prelims. Why? Because you practically have to remember the data over here. So this question is one of those questions where UPSC is just trying to corner you, trying to bother you, trying to pressurize you rather than expecting an answer. Okay. So here you simply had to use the data because you are not aware of exactly. So to find out the value of vote of an MLA of MP and Kerala, you need to have the values of both population and number of MLAs of those states, and that too population figure of 1971. So it is practically impossible to remember all of this unless you just remember the values of votes of MLAs of all these states. So this statement was an incorrect statement. The value of vote of Kerala was more than value of vote of MLA of MP. The fourth statement is the value of vote of each MLA of Puducherry is higher than that of Arunachal Pradesh because the ratio of total population of total number of elected seats in Puducherry is greater as compared to Arunachal Pradesh. This was the correct statement. I think Arunachal Pradesh the value is 8. For Puducherry it comes out to be 16. So this statement was a correct statement. Again it was a factual statement. So this is correct. So only one statement is correct. Only one. A will be the answer. Okay. Now next question. Consider the following statements. The first one, the Constitution of India classifies the ministers into 4 ranks, which is Cabinet Minister, Minister of State with independent charge, Minister of State and Deputy Ministers. This is incorrect. Constitution does not provide any classification of ministers. Article 75 which talks about Council of Ministers, it only talks about ministers. The word cabinet itself, it is not mentioned in Article 75. We know that it was added through an amendment to Article 352 later on. So this statement is not correct. It is coming through the different rules of the government. And this classification is mentioned in the law which is governing the salary and wages of the ministers. So Salary and Wages Act 1952, there you find this classification mentioned. Okay. Then the total number of ministers in the union government including the Prime Minister shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members in the Lok Sabha. This is correct. Okay. So total number of ministers in the union government including the Prime Minister shall not exceed the percentage of 15% of the total number of members in the Lok Sabha. This is a correct statement. This was added through the 91st Amendment Act 2003. Okay. So Article 75 1A, it provides for this information. For the states also the same thing is true. So one statement is correct, the second statement is correct. Okay. Now we are looking at the next question. Which of the following suggested that the governor should be an eminent person from outside the state and should be a detached figure without intense political links or should not have taken part in politics in the recent past? So the governor's office has been a very important source of controversy when we talk of center-state relation, because the governor has got a lot of powers with respect to the functioning of the state government, but the governor is appointed by the center and can be removed by the center. The governor does become a kind of dual personality. The governor has to play the role of agent of center also at times. So that is why there have been a lot of recommendations made by various commissions and committees whenever they have talked about center-state relation. One of the most prominent committees on this matter or commissions on this matter was the Sarkaria Commission, which gave its report in 1988. Okay? The commission was formed in 1983, it gave its report in 1988. Sarkaria Commission, it talked about what is mentioned over here. It said that the governor should not be a person who was active in politics. Okay? He should be an eminent person who is beyond politics, who is a neutral person, so that the center is not dominating the state through the governor. Okay? So the answer is C over here. Now, with reference to the election of the President of India, consider the following statements. So let us look at the statement. Again, this is a theme, this question is on the same theme. We have already seen a question recently. Now you can see very clearly there is a pattern. 2018 there was a question on this election. 2023 you have got a question on election. So very clearly you can see a pattern. 2017 we had election for president. 2022 we had election for president. So very clearly when elections are there, current affairs, you are getting reports, you are discussing the matter, there is a question in prelims. So you can very easily see the correlation. Okay. So the value of vote of each MLA varies from state to state. This is correct statement. We have seen just now the value is calculated using a formula, that is population of the state divided by number of elected MLAs of the state into 1000. So you will get different values for different states. UP has got 208, Sikkim has got 7, right? So the first statement is correct. Then the value of the vote of MPs of the Lok Sabha is more than the value of vote of the MPs of the Rajya Sabha. This is not a correct statement. The values of votes of all MPs irrespective of which house they belong to, the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha MPs, their values are same, their values are equal. they come out to be 708 approximately after calculation. So this statement is not a correct statement. So only 2 is correct. So 2 only. Next, consider the following statements. No criminal proceeding shall be instituted against the governor of a state in any court during his term of office. This is a correct statement. Article 361, it provides the immunity to the president and vice president. So no criminal case can be initiated against the president and governor while they are in office. Okay? When they are vacating the office, then of course they can be initiated. There is no problem after that. But the immunity is only when they are in office. So remember, president and vice president, president and governor, they are not getting immunity as an individual. They are getting immunity because they are holding a post. So the post is immune, not the person is immune. Okay. So the first statement is a correct statement. What about civil proceedings? Civil proceedings can be filed, but you have to give 2 months prior notice to them. Okay. Then the emoluments and allowances of the governor of a state shall not be diminished during his term of office. This is also a correct statement. Article 158 clause 4, it very clearly provides conditions of office of the governor. The conditions of service shall not be altered to his disadvantage. Okay? So whatever privileges were being available to the governor when he was appointed, none of them can be reduced once he is appointed. So both these statements are correct. Thank you.